shock result that's going to rock Europe, because the winner in this historically tolerant country is Geert Wilders, the right-wing anti-immigration politician who wants Muslim immigration banned, as he did say on his visit to Australia.
People are saying enough is enough. Let us reclaim our country. Stop the mass immigration from Islamic countries.
Now, Geert Wilders' party won 35 seats. Everyone's saying victory. That is at least 10 more than the Labour Greens coalition that came second. So that's great. But it doesn't actually guarantee he'll become Prime Minister, because there are actually 150 seats in the Parliament. He'll need to cobble together a coalition, and the main parties all say they'll refuse to work with him, right? It's on the nose. But he might become Prime Minister, and the signal has been sent to all Europe, because even the Dutch now, the tolerant Dutch, have had enough of mass immigration, often from people who won't share their local culture. Joining me is Sky News presenter James McPherson of the Late Debate here on Sky at 10 p.m, and Evelyn Ray, writer and podcast host and on Sky and everything. James McPherson, the Dutch election result, how do you read it?
Well, there's two really interesting things that have happened here, Andrew. The first is that the popularity of Geert Wilders' party rose sharply after the October 7 attacks on Israel. Between October 7 and November 22, the polls had him go from 12% to 23% in popularity. And what happened during that period was mass pro-Palestinian rallies on the streets of Holland and indeed in cities around Europe. And I think Dutch people saw this and have reacted to it and said, we need to address this quickly, and so they voted for Geert Wilders. The other thing that's interesting is CBS television published crime statistics in Holland from 2022, and they looked at the perpetrators by country of origin, and they found that Dutch people did not feature in the top 20 nations of origin when it came to perpetrators of crime in their own country. You remember in 2015 there was a massive influx of migrants into Europe, and I think Dutch people, 8 years later, seeing the consequences of that, have said we need to take our nation back, and hence the election result.
Yes, I've been surprised by how my own very left-wing relatives there, who I love dearly, have changed some of their views over time as well as a result of all this. But Evelyn, meanwhile here, we're letting in 860 Palestinians when there's clearly been little time for security checks, when clearly Jewish community leaders are worried, given all the hate they're already facing here. Seems to be a little bit of a contrast.
I'd like to ask the question, Andrew, why doesn't a country near them take them in? Why doesn't Israel take them in? If they aren't terrorists and they aren't allegedly a security threat, why wouldn't Israel or any other surrounding Arab nation take them in? Is it perhaps that they fear something that our own government is too politically correct to consider? I mean, let's face the reality here. Israel does not know who every member of Hamas is or who its supporters are. How much less would we know over here in Australia? And second to that, we need to remember when you import a person, you don't just import their physical self, you import their ideas, you import their ideologies. And I don't think 6 weeks is enough time to figure out all of that to any proper degree, any degree that would make Australians at least feel safe. And every second day, we're being told that there's a housing crisis here in Australia. So I'd like all the politicians who are pushing for this, Albanese, Penny Wong, I'd like them to offer up their Marrickville homes, their Canberra apartments, and all of that for all of the housing crisis that's happening. Meanwhile, we're importing 860 people in 6 weeks. It's absolutely absurd. It's crazy. And I think we're yet to see the consequences of it, unfortunately.
And of course, Egypt, right next to bordering Gaza, it says no to immigrants, Palestinian immigrants. Jordan, next to the sharing border with the West Bank, is also